Has spent 3 weeks in Kashmir covering this entire post-Pelgam attack scenario. He's returned here to the NDTV studios and he's still talking about Pahalgam. And one of the reasons for that, viewer, is because 30 days later, after so much has happened, the 3 terrorists who killed those 26 people still haven't been found. And that's the reason why I refuse to move on from this story until there is closure on that front. But before that, Prime Minister Modi today visited the Naxal airbase. Today, exactly 1 month since the terror massacre in Pelgam, Prime Minister Modi was in Rajasthan, in a forward area. Now, this isn't just a routine morale stop. Of course, it is also that. Naxal is no ordinary base. Strategically perched just outside of Bikaner in Rajasthan, it's one of India's closest forward air bases to Pakistan. During Operation Sindoor, Naxal wasn't just part of the support grid, it was a launch pad, a combat participant. Now you will notice that unlike in Adampur, the Prime Minister in Naxal didn't interact with the troops there, and you didn't see very much happening in the Naxal airbase. And the reason for that is because the Prime Minister was actually on a civilian visit. He was there to inaugurate some projects. But he did mention Naxal. When the Prime Minister stood there today, he wasn't just addressing civilians, pilots, people from the base. He was acknowledging that Naxal saw combat. And make no mistake, Pakistani radar and missile crews were watching Naxal very, very closely during those tense days in early May. Naxal houses air dominance and air interceptor fighters. It's also historically significant, going back to the 1971 war. Its proximity to southern Punjab and Sindh in Pakistan makes it a springboard for deep precision strikes that we now know actually did take place. And given what we know about Operation Sindoor, where 8 to 10 Pakistan air bases were struck or targeted and 3 more were damaged, Naxal was almost certainly part of that air choreography. In fact, the Prime Minister didn't quite disguise that fact today when he alluded to the Rahim Yar Khan air base just across the border in Pakistan by choosing Naxal for this visit today, 30 days since Pahalgam. The Prime Minister has sent a clear message, not just to the forces, but to Pakistan. We're watching from the front and we are not done yet. 30 days is a long time, but we are so not done. Pelgam was the trigger, Naxal was the response.
यहाँ से कुछ ही दूर सीमा पार पाकिस्तान का रहीम यार खान एयरबेस है। पता नहीं आगे कब खुलेगा। आईसीयू में पड़ा है। भारत की सेना के अचूक प्रहार ने इस एयरबेस को तहस नहस कर दिया है।
And as you know, and like I've been saying, it's been 1 full month today since the terror attack in Pahalgam. And I will not be moving on from this story until there is closure. You can be sure of that. 26 innocent people, 25 Indians, 1 Nepali, were executed in cold blood by 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. Since then, Operation Sindoor has raged. 12 Pakistani air bases have been struck. 9 terror camps have been reduced to rubble. 3 high-value terror commanders mysteriously killed. Over 3 billion in damage inflicted across Pakistan and POK. And just today in Kishtwar, in Jammu, the latest of 3 terrorist encounters erupted, in which a total of 6 terrorists over the last couple of weeks have been eliminated. But here's the truth we cannot look away from, my friends. The 3 terrorists who massacred our people in Pahalgam are still out there 1 month later, hiding in one of the most militarized regions on earth. Across dense forests, icy ridgelines and mountain shadows, they've managed to stay 1 step ahead of our forces. That is the reality. We're told they're foot soldiers, expendable, replaceable, that the real message has been sent through missiles and munitions to their masters across the border. And yes, Operation Sindoor was India's answer to Pakistan's terror machine. A clear message that sanctuary no longer equals safety. But now think of the families, the people, the children, the women who were there watching their loved ones, all men, being executed by those 3 Pakistan cowards. The ones who watched their sons, daughters, wives, and fathers there in the Baisaran meadow to watch the men of their families gunned down after their religion was profiled by these three cowards sent by Pakistan. Can we really decide for these survivors, these families, that these men no longer matter, that we should just move on, that we can't keep looking for them, that justice has been outsourced to symbolism? An emphatic no. These three men, they matter. These three must be found. Their names, faces, and escape must not become another dusty footnote lost in the noise of the brutality, the amazing revenge of Operation Sindoor. Because until they're caught, this wound does not close. Think of the families. You and I can talk about letting those three go, forgetting about them because we've done so much damage to Pakistan. But think of the families who saw these three men in the eyes. And we owe them that much to those 26 souls who never came home. And I'm joined now by two Indian Army veterans who have not only served in the Kashmir Valley, who have not only participated or commanded anti-terror operations, held positions of power where they have faced the kinds of challenges that our security forces, whether it is the Army, the Rashtriya Rifles, the CRPF, the Jammu and Kashmir Police, the Special Operations Group, are facing right now, because this is a question that every Indian tracking this story will have on their minds today. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Yadav, former Director General Infantry, and also with us is Major General Yash Moore, also a well-known analyst and Army veteran. Welcome to the both of you. Thank you for being with me. General Yadav, I'd like to come to you first. Simple answer. We understand that Kashmir is challenging, the terrain is difficult, there can be local support, that Pakistan continues to probably provide intelligence to these terrorists, that there is human support on the ground perhaps. All of these various challenges on the terrain and society are known to us. What can you add more than that to explain to every Indian tonight why 30 days later, three men in the most militarized region in the world cannot be found, sir?
Shiv, thanks for calling me to your show. And Jai Hind and Bharat Mata Ki Jai to all your viewers. You have said it all. You see, the terrain is very, very difficult. It is full of jungle, mountain, and in fact, you can walk 2 to 3 days and you will not find a single soul in that area. There are far too many hiding places there, and there is certainly local support, either willingly or otherwise, through the culture of gun that these militants they follow. So obviously there is a logistic support. How it comes is a matter of details. And moreover, this terrain and the vastness of area is such that it is like finding a needle in a haystack. So we have done operations on these areas. We have been smelling these guys for days together, yet they have a ways and means to slip out at times. And this is what probably is happening now. And don't be surprised if they have left their arms and ammunition in some cache and now they are roaming around in civil, in shalwar kameez or whatever dress they want, and they are mingled into the local population. And local population there probably is hiding them. There are sanctuaries within J&K, there are villages, there are areas like Taral and in South Kashmir, where you still have a lot of sympathy for these their so-called religious fighters.
Yeah.
So this is what I can appreciate, that these people are still missing. And as the time is passing, it will become more and more difficult for them to be located. Okay. And don't be surprised if they are across the border. May not be from J&K, they might have gone further south to other states and then gone across.
Okay.
By Nepal or somewhere else. Because it is what we can make out the way this operation was conducted on 22nd. it had a lot of tentacles of Fauji military operation.
No, you're right. You're
So
right,
it had
General
all the-
Yadav. At least one or two of these terrorists are known to either have had formal military training or have links with the military, or maybe even possibly veterans. There's a lot of information about one of them specifically being a former special operator from the Pakistan Army. But General
Yes.
Yashmore, your take on this beyond the obvious. Why are we not able to find them? We have the finest forces on the ground. This is not to take away from the amazing talent and skill of our security forces, but help us understand why they have not been found even after 30 days, sir.
Shiv Aroor, Jai Hind, and thank you for inviting me to this program. One of the most tragic days in our recent history, 22nd April, we can never forget. And for people like me, I've operated in South Kashmir for one of the most difficult times of my life in Rashtra Rifles. And in these areas, let me tell you, Shiv, by small team operations, by covert operations, and keeping the people, treating the people as center of the gravity, cultivating human intelligence. Let me tell you, my unit, and we had broken the back of Lashkar-e-Toiba, Huji, HM. We had almost finished these guys in this entire area. So what I'm trying to get is that it is sad we don't know where they are. They are not superhumans. They are not even. I've seen these guys very, very closely. Okay, they are ahead of us. They can walk 5 to 6 hours in a day, but finally they do need a resting place. They do need to sleep. They need to eat. They need to communicate. The communication network they have, we are unable to decipher that. We are unable to tap into their communication network. So we really have a challenge on the tech side. The other side, Shiv, I have been telling army officers all my service career that we need to hit the ground running. We need to, reach out to the people. There are sufficient people in the valley who require us, who just hate this Pakistani Muslim.
I saw it
jihadi,
everywhere I went in Kashmir, sir. I saw it everywhere. I was there for 3 weeks. There are people
Everywhere, I'm
abusing
telling you.
Pakistan left, right and center there.
I'm telling you, अब मेरे को बात करते हुए मेरे रोंगटे खड़े हुए हैं, because अभी भी लोग मैं जानता हूं जो अपनी जान पे खेल के हमें खबर देने के लिए तैयार थे. तो हमें करना क्या है शिव अरूर? पहली बात तो investigation is slow. We need to know ये 3 लोग कौन है, who are these people, their addresses, everything that we must track back. Who recruited the site, who gave them the guidance. First is that part that the NIA, the police must do. But the military and the SOG, J&K police, we must now hunt them down. We must fan into small teams. We don't need very big operations to be launched. Small teams of 4 to 5 people led by young officers, motivated, inspired people. और ऐसा कोई बात नहीं. We are very tough. अगर हम धक्के खा सकते हैं उस एरिया में, ऐसा कुछ है. You will find them. I don't believe they can run away. They wouldn't have gone too far. They must be around, in the Vardhan Valley or Gadol Valley, exactly where the Al Farhan guys were there for a couple of
But I
days.
want to ask one thing, General Yadav. There is no possibility that they could have gone back across the LC into POK or Pakistan, because most people we spoke to said in this scenario post Pahalgam that is virtually impossible. Is that correct? That the chances of them having gone back is virtually nil?
It is very, very difficult, but possibility cannot be ruled out.
Yeah.
Because this operation has been planned at the highest level in Pakistan. So they must have gone through all the phases of operation, all kind of contingencies. But in all probability, like Yash has said, that they are still around these areas and they're moving from one place to another place and they're surviving on whatever little they can get it. And I'm sure we are going to find these guys. They cannot escape at all. The way we are deployed and the way our culture is in South Kashmir and the rest of Kashmir. I have been DG of Rashtra Rifle also. So all these battalions is one of the best, the finest possible means war machine that you can have and the kind of organization to handle insurgency. And a lot of experience is behind them. And like senior officers like Yash and all, they have done wonders during when they were commanding the formation and units in these areas.
So General Yash, then I want to end by asking you, after 30 days, does the hunt become more precarious or does it become more difficult?
See, it is difficult from day one. See, Shiv, they got 1.5 hours notice. After they killed these people, by the time we reacted and by the time we started the chase, they got 2 to 3 hours of notice. In mountains, 2 to 3 hours is one ridge line ahead. And then those areas are remotely populated. You have dhok summertime, and the dhoks just merge with the ground. Till the time you reach a dhok, you really don't know if this is the place somebody's staying there. 3 people can really melt away. But the challenge is that we have to, somebody has to plan this entire thing, make a grid, use technology, use boots on ground, and use people on ground. I'm telling you, people are the center of gravity. They will give you information. Finally, when they get killed, it will be some people who inform us. So that is what is our challenge. And I'm sure sooner or later, some young small team will surely neutralize them.
I'm going to end on that note, but I thank General Yadav, General Yashmore for joining me on this, because it's good to hear that, people might move on to other things, move on to other stories, but those 26 families have seen the faces of these 3 men. They will not be moving on from this. And I guarantee you that I will not be moving on from this until that small team, like you said, General Yash, will find these guys somewhere and evaporate them from this earth, because that, to me, is going to be closure to what happened in Pelgam. Thank you, Generals, for being with me here on discussion and story number 1 here on India Matters. On the other side, well, we're still talking about Operation Sindoor, except this is amazing. 3,020-somethings from the Indian Army's Agniveers scheme were part of Operation Sindoor. They were on the front line. They were killing Pakistani missiles and drones. It's an amazing thing we've only just heard about, and I'm going to tell you about it after this break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
These are the visuals that are coming in. Let's go full frame with it.
For every big news story.
From Jammu.
You can't defend the indefensible Ruchira Kamboj, but that's what Pakistan has been doing for a very, very long time.
We are sifting through a lot of information. Some is right, some is not right. But I think we are
India tunes in to NDTV.
In fact, on NDTV, like we've been doing for the last few hours, we've been
for fast, clear and credible news.
We've also been, busting a lot of misinformation that's been coming in.
When I was standing on the road, I saw these lights going off in the sky, and I could hear
where credibility
sounds of like
comes
what sound
first.
like blasts happening.
When Pakistan started shelling and first shell landed here, you can see this.
Well, we have reached at ground zero, and this village is
NDTV. First, fast, factual.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you. It matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shiv Aroor. Only on NDTV 24/7.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know your company. Powered by NDTV Profit Research. shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
The last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Naxal Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have two credible credit rating
Politics as contract soldiers, mocked by some as cannon fodder, and taken up as a big angry political hot potato in the 2024 election season. But when the time came, when Pakistan launched waves of missiles and drones during Operation Sindoor, it was India's young army Agniveers who manned the front lines. That's right, I'm not making this up. It's true. 3,000 of them across India's air defense units, especially on the Western Front, operating fire control systems, radio nets, and heavy-duty gun-mounted vehicles. Many of them had been in uniform for barely 18 months, more than enough to be trained. And yet, when India's skies were under attack, they didn't blink. They are our youngest soldiers, part of the Agnipath scheme that was rolled out to some controversy, politically speaking, by the government. But these young men have delivered in the most difficult time. They weren't drill ground simulations. This was the real thing. Live missile alerts, drone swarms, radar locks, combat coordination, and they did what soldiers are trained to do. They stood their ground. In an election season, the Agniveers scheme last year had become political TNT. The opposition called it a betrayal of India's youth. You remember? The government called it transformational reform. Some said maybe the time is not right for it yet. But when the missiles came flying, viewer, it wasn't a manifesto or a debate on prime time that answered. It was these young Agniveers. No politics can erase what happened during those 4 critical days in May. I was there to see it myself. The baptism by fire, the lives protected, the confidence earned, the lives put on the line. The government has said it is open to modifications of the Agnipath scheme, and it's true that modifications and tweaks are more than necessary. But let it be said clearly tonight, they were tested in war and they delivered. And no matter where you stand politically, that deserves our national respect. And I'm joined tonight by General Ashwini Kumar, who was the Adjutant General at the time when the Agnipath scheme was being formulated and then later rolled out. He is one of the persons who was very much part of the process that put together the Agnipath scheme and the Agniveers that followed. General Kumar, always a pleasure. Good to have someone who had skin in the game, as it were, on the Agniveers scheme. 3,000 of these Agniveers on the front line, part of air defense units. My first question, does this settle the debate in any way around the Agnipath scheme, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, Shiv, for asking that question, which has now come to fructify in a manner that we can talk about the payoffs of that scheme or otherwise. When this Agniveer scheme started, the biggest concern that time was not how the scheme will pan out to be. I think it was more of a mindset and acceptance of a change in what was happening for so many decades, and suddenly you want to change it. And even that time, I remember I had said somewhere that whether it is 4 years or it is 15 years or 17, 19, depending upon what rank one retires, the basic training for these soldiers, depending upon which arm or service they are, that is not going to be compromised. So the professional competence which this soldier is going to acquire, it is still the same. So how will that matter whether he's there with us for 4 years or he's going to be there with 15 years? And what has happened now that the Operation Sindoor has taken place, willy-nilly there had to be some Agniveers also taking part in these operations because they're part of the establishment of the units.
3,000
so they have done wonderful job, as we all know. So what was actually the real concern, though a lot of hue and cry was being made as to why we have put it 4 years, was more to do what happens with these soldiers after 4 years when they get out. So that issue, I think, has been taken care of to quite an extent by the government, that they will be absorbed in the CAPF or there will be other avenues for them. However, the debate, as you asked the question, has the debate been settled? as you know, Shiv, more than anyone else, or at least definitely more than me, the debates are never settled.
Yeah, true.
Now, some veterans that time, maybe including myself, had a little apprehension as to how well with these soldiers fit into a unit, because those regimentation, the ethos and the culture, that takes time to build.
Yeah.
But to my mind, that is a direct function of how good the leader is. As long as you know that he has to be brought up to that standard, the COs and the down below and the other JCOs, officers, they find ways and means, and as has been now proved in Operation Sindoor, that they have not been found wanting. So I think to that extent, there is no difference as far as performance is concerned, whether it is Agniveer or the erstwhile soldiers who are still there in the units. So I think I'm very happy that those days we used to question people like me as to why it is happening. And I used to always maintain that granted to the hierarchy who have taken this decision, they would have thought through it. It doesn't happen that you just make a knee-jerk reaction. It was a well-deliberated decision, and I think it has come to be proved right that way.
I mean, these 3,000 Agniveers, as is being reported, General, have literally proven themselves in a combat scenario, in defense operations during a war-like, situation between India and Pakistan. About 25% are currently, retained. That is the retention rate of these young Agniveers. There has been an argument for a long time that this should be, 50 or 75%, and for a longer period, say 6 to 8 years, instead of the current 4. Does Operation Sindoor provide the push for that kind of modification?
You see, Shiv, this question has been often talked about, whether you can increase that period of retention from 4 to 6 or maybe 5 or to 7 or to 8. But the bigger question will still remain that they are not going to complete their pensionable service.
Yeah.
So their worry, which was going to be after 4 years, will just get pended for another 4 years or 3 years or whatever time you say. I have always suggested a better method when it happened about 3-4 years back, that as of now, unless I'm out of date now, that it was 25% retention of these Agniveers. I had made a suggestion, which I still reiterate my point, that when they are in training in their training centers, the first 25% in the merit should be made permanent there itself. Now, out of the remaining 75 in the unit or system, then you retain 25% of this 75. So this percentage will go up to 42 to 43, which I think by and large is okay. And it will meet both the ends, because the reason for adopting to this system, I'm sure somewhere also had the financial angle behind it, because they are not getting pension. At the same time, it is going to be more than 40% which is retained. And if you keep on increasing the detention period, this is my own personal opinion, that as of now, they know that only 25% will be retained. And even if my suggestion sometime is accepted, it becomes 40 to 43%.
Yeah.
They are going to be working very hard to be part of this 40 or 25%. So they are that much additionally motivated. Their performance is going to be of that higher caliber. Moment, it is 10 years, well, whether it is 15 or 10, in present system 15 years, you will always find some people are not performing that well, some soldiers, some are performing very well. But when it is, then only 25% will be retained, whether it is center or in the unit. They are going to be always on the roll, and they are going to be absolutely at the best of their
So in that case, General, my final question to you is, with their performance in Operation Sindoor, I mean, a real live war-like situation, and Operation Sindoor on their profiles and their CVs, doesn't this open the private sector up in a big way? Shouldn't private sector companies be mindful of this amazing resource that's available to them whenever they get out of uniform?
Shiv, in a way, I am associated with an NGO of where I deal with a lot of CSR partnerships. And I'm sure you won't be surprised when I tell you that ever since Agniveer scheme has come about, they're after me or my NGO to do something for them. They're willing to do that for them. And it is not that we did not try or I did not try. I realize that at the moment, even government has got adequate opportunities already planned for them, created for them. And therefore, obviously, they will take those opportunities first. So government is already thinking about it. And I'm sure they have found in their plan. Private sectors, especially after Sindoor, will be very keen to take these people. Like
absolutely.
If you see, you go to any bank or anywhere where there is the private security fellow. From a distance also, you can make out whether he's an ex-soldier or not. So that pool which is already trained, now he has taken part in an operation. He has gone through, this rigmarole of, threat to his life. I'm sure private sector will be very well off. Now, before I will just try to go back to that first question where I made a point whether these soldiers will fit into that unit's ethos, tradition, and culture. As I said, it is a question of leadership. Just came to my mind, as you know more than many of us, that war is not a tea party.
Yeah.
And one goes into the battle with the possibility of him not returning alive, doing harm.
Indeed.
His soldier will do so under a leader who he can trust, who he has faith in about his capability. A leader with suspect moral conviction will never be able to inspire this man to make the ultimate sacrifice of his life for his country. And therefore, whether he's Agniveer or a normal soldier, this issue remains constant. That it is the leadership and the unit environment which is going to prepare this man, Agniveer or otherwise, to be doing as well as the normal soldier was doing so far.
It's incredible. I have goosebumps hearing this, General Kumar, and thank you for your words this time. We salute all of our Agniveers, and I promise viewers of India Matters that I will do a show with these brave Agniveers who've been at the war front, just in their 20s and putting their lives on the line. What an incredible story. Well, that's it on India Matters tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. Maria is up next, and it looks like, Maria, the Prime Minister is not going to let anyone forget the word Sindoor in a hurry.
Absolutely, Shiv. And a lot of reiteration and interpretation, that's what played out in that speech of the Prime Minister. Hello everyone, this is the last word. In his first public address after the success of Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi said that India avenged the deadly April 22nd terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam in 22 minutes. Mr. Modi, while explaining the larger import of Sindoor of vermilion, did not hold his punches. He said, "Not blood, Sindoor boils in my veins." In a strong message to Pakistan, Mr. Modi said that if India faces a terrorist attack, a strong retaliation will follow. Today also marks 1 month since Pahalgam terror attack, which killed 25 of our citizens. Prime Minister's message was loud and clear. India has drawn a new red line against terror, and India will not be intimidated by nuclear threats and will not see the perpetrators of terrorism and the state patronizing terrorism separately. Remember, Prime Minister's message is coming at a time when 7 all-party delegations are traveling around the globe to tell the world about the strategic and military success of Operation Sindoor.
जो सिंदूर मिटाने निकले थे, उन्हें मिट्टी में मिलाया है। जब सिंदूर बारूद बन जाता है, तो नतीजा क्या होता है? 22 तारीख के हमले के जवाब में हमने 22 मिनट में आतंकियों के 9 सबसे बड़े ठिकाने तबाह कर दिए और तीनों सेनाओं ने मिलकर ऐसा चक्रव्यूह रचा कि पाकिस्तान को घुटने टेकने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। आतंकवादियों ने धर्म पूछकर हमारी बहनों की मांग का सिंदूर उजाड़ दिया था। वो गोलियां पहलगाम में चली थी, लेकिन उन गोलियों से 140 करोड़ देशवासियों का सीना छलनी हुआ था।
बहुत ही कश्मीरी गेम है।
जो हिंदुस्तान का लहू बहाते थे, आज कतरे कतरे का हिसाब चुकाया है। जो अपने हथियारों पर घमंड करते थे, आज वो मलबे के ढेर में दबे हुए हैं। ये शोध प्रतिशोध का खेल नहीं, ये न्याय का नया स्वरूप है। ये न्याय का नया स्वरूप है। ये ऑपरेशन सिंदूर है। पहले घर में घुसकर किया था वार, अब सीधा सीने पर किया प्रहार है। आतंक का फन कुचलने की यही नीति है, यही रीति है, यही भारत है, नया भारत है। पाकिस्तान ने इस एयरबेस को भी निशाना बनाने की कोशिश की थी, लेकिन वो इस एयरबेस को रत्ती भर भी नुकसान नहीं पहुंचा पाया। और वहीं पाकिस्तान का रहीम यार खान एयरबेस है, पता नहीं आगे कब खुलेगा। आईसीयू में पड़ा है। पाकिस्तान के साथ न ट्रेड होगा न टॉक। अगर बात होगी तो सिर्फ पाकिस्तान के कब्जे वाले कश्मीर की, पीओके की। पाकिस्तान को भारत के हक का पानी नहीं मिलेगा। भारतीयों के खून से खेलना पाकिस्तान को महंगा पड़ेगा। मोदी का दिमाग ठंडा है, ठंडा रहता है, लेकिन मोदी का लहू गर्म होता है। मोदी की नसों में लहू नहीं, गरम सिंदूर बह रहा है। सौगंध मुझे इस मिट्टी की, मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा। मैं देश नहीं झुकने दूंगा।
Shama Mohammed, spokesperson of the Congress, joins me. We have Rajat Sethi, political analyst, Pradeep Bhandari, spokesperson of the BJP, and Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist. Pradeep Bhandari, beginning with you, a strong message coming in from the Prime Minister, day which he has chosen. But is this also the beginning of politics around it?
Well, Maria, the Prime Minister has repeatedly put forward the nation's resolve and put forward the new doctrine against terror, where the Operation Sindoor, which is, mind you, ongoing, we have hit Pakistan deep. We have hit it till Lahore to Rawalpindi. And as I speak with you, this very day, there was an encounter and at least 2 terrorists have been killed. So the government's resolve is very clear, where the armed forces have been given complete freedom to act against terror and act against terror mastermind in Pakistan. Unfortunately, Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party only understand and believe in the language of the enemy, because whatever they have tweeted and raised, either A is to do with operational details vis-a-vis which the army has rejected in the official press conference, or B, they've raised the issue of ceasefire, which MEA even today rejected it completely, where there was no third-party involvement. However, a party which has a history of asking for proof, whether it is surgical strike or Balakot, or has a history from Mr. Nehru's time of gifting Aksai Chin to China, and also was negotiating giving Uri and Poonch to Pakistan, can never understand or believe in anything which is patriotic and nationalist. Mr. Gandhi tweeted saying that why do we believe Pakistan? We absolutely do not believe Pakistan. This is why Operation Sindoor is ongoing. I'll tell you what is belief in Pakistan. It is what Congress party after 26/11 did, was supplying dossiers and proofs to Pakistan and was saying that 26/11 Pakistan was not responsible. It was RSS ki sajish. So I appeal to my friend from the Congress party. You can do politics later. You have been defeated by the people of this country where they've rejected your anti-national politics in 14-19. You continue to do so.
Shama Mohammed, respond to that, then I bring in others.
Yeah, so Maria, I have not interrupted my BJP panelist. I require the same courtesy from him. I've been listening. I was listening to Modi ji's speech, which you had put, and you did, the first most important I want to say is we are all very proud of our army. We stand by them, and they did a terrific job. I didn't hear a single word saying, Mr. Modi, in the speech which you put up, "Mujhe garv hai mere sena pe." It was all about Modi is standing here with pride. Modi's mind is cold, but his blood is hot. In Modi's vein, not blood, but hot sindoor flows. Let's understand that. Now, here he mentions about, he straight away went to attack the leader of opposition, which I am not going to. I'm going to put out facts. After Pathankot happened, they invited ISI to do the investigation, the perpetrators of the crime. After 26/11, he spoke about 26/11, it was Mr. Modi standing out of a hotel bin. Before it even finished, he was cursing the Congress party. Now, I want to ask Modi ji a few questions today, the BJP spokesperson here. He's done speech here. He's gone to Kerala. He went to Bihar. He went to Bombay for waves, multiple things. He has not gone to Pahalgam. He has not visited the victims' families. I mean, that's what a prime minister or president does first. If he feels so much, he must go and meet them. The question today is, where are the 4 terrorists? We don't know where they are. The next question is, why the ceasefire when we were way ahead? Way ahead. We should have finished off the terrorist camps. Now, the spokesperson, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari, says that there's no third person. Somebody's come out and said, Trump is repeatedly saying that I have told there should be a ceasefire. I've threatened them there will be a trade embargo. Now, these are not something what the Congress party is saying. This proof of you can come out and say whatever you want, but there is evidence out there. The other most important thing is cross-border terrorism is being changed into Kashmir issue. And we are hyphenated with Pakistan. Trump puts Pakistan on one side, India on the other side. Pakistan is a country which breeds terror, which exports terror. After 26/11, we were not on the same page. India was here, Pakistan. Right now, the French and the Danes were with us in the beginning, but now nobody except Israel and Taiwan. That is why Mr. Jaishankar has run to Afghanistan. Where are our friends? Who is with us? And this is very important. Also, the question Rahul Gandhi asked, why does the Prime Minister not attend all-party meet? Why is the Prime Minister not calling a special session of the Parliament? I mean, after 26/11, we had a session.
Pradeep, a quick response to that, and then I bring in others, please.
Well, fake news by Shama Mohammed. This is the speech of the Honorable Prime Minister. And let me say in Hindi. He said, आज आपके आशीर्वाद से देश की सेना के शौर्य से हम सब उस प्रण पर खड़े उतरे हैं. He is categorically said that it is because of our forces. So as usual, entire fake news of the Congress party is busted. So Shama, in your love for Pakistan, you have started to peddle fake news. Don't run a fake WhatsApp university. Point number 2, which Shama was speaking. She's telling us that we should do like 26/11, where Shama Mohammed was given a clean chit to Pakistan. Digvijay Singh was saying that Pakistan is not responsible for 26/11. What did we get after 26/11? More than 100 of our people lost their life. Did a single terrorist could be killed by the Congress party? No. This time we went deep inside Rawalpindi. We went deep inside Lahore. The Congress party wants to draw parallel to 26/11. Absolutely not. We are not the Congress which will give Siachen to Pakistan. We are not the Congress which will sell the sovereignty of India in Sharm el-Sheikh. We do not need lectures from the Congress party.
Okay.
All party meeting again.
Okay. I'm coming back to both of you. Let me bring in others. Neerja Chaudhary and Rajat Sethi on the screen now, please. Neerja Chaudhary and Rajat Sethi on the screen now. Neerja, coming to you, ma'am. What is evident here is that this will be now in the domain of politics, although there has been complete bipartisan unity of, or at least attempt at display that we saw, particularly 7 committees going across the globe to various countries to send the message. But the Prime Minister, speaking for the first time post Operation Sindoor, he had addressed the nation, then he spoke about it from a base, and now he has chosen to speak about it in a very, very emotive way. This was an emotional speech, and he has chosen Rajasthan as that venue. How do you see the messaging?
Look, you're right. As far as the country standing, opposition and the ruling side standing together post Pahalgam, yes, they are standing together as they go out in 7 delegations to different world capitals, yes. And whatever be their views on the questions that are still unanswered, and the Congress and other opposition parties have been demanding an answer, when they are in those capitals, they are not going to, I would be very surprised if they took a divergent view. They will all speak with one voice when they address the world community and mobilize public opinion in favor of India's stand. But then back home, yes, politics will take over. Parliamentary democracy is all about politics, and questions will be asked and answers should be given. So I also thought the Prime Minister's speech today was very, very emotional, and it pitched it high. The evocative words he used, the analogies that he used, the reference to Sindoor, it's not khoon, but ubalta hua Sindoor in my veins. So those are it's again, an emotive pitch to the country. And he was addressing essentially a domestic constituency. And he was saying we achieved what we set out to achieve. We did not fall short of our goal. And he spelled it out how those precision strikes, the terrorists killed, etc. So those people who have been critical saying, why ceasefire now? Who brokered it? We had a goal and we set out to achieve it, and we achieved. So that is the note he was striking. And I think at one level, after the ceasefire, there was criticism more from people who have been supporters of the BJP when they questioned why the ceasefire at that time and what was behind it. And I think, ironically, it is the Congress leaders, Shiv Aroor and others, who are batting more effectively for the India line or the government line than were some people within the BJP, at least the extreme right. So I think he was at one level also doing damage control and making, again, very clear, hard words. It's POK we are interested in. We'll talk about that. And also, coming across yet once again as a strong leader, or that is the attempt. The country will go nowhere. I'm here. I will protect the country. Have faith in me. Those kind of notes that you heard earlier also from Narendra Modi. What it tells me is that we are now into an informational war, a psychological war, to win over the minds of the Indian people and their allegiance. So we will see probably more of this in the days to come.
Yes. And Rajat, I would agree with Neerja because, it was the BJP supporters who were perhaps more upset that why there was a ceasefire at all. When, the leaders from the Congress party, Shashi Tharoor and others, and I had interviewed Dr. Tharoor and even Salman Khurshid, the former External Affairs Minister, they were of the opinion that if the objective was sending a message to Pakistan, that message had been communicated. And nobody went in for this war as a prolonged war. It was largely to teach Pakistan a lesson and tell the world that it's a terror state. So there was a clear distinction in response and, from both the sides, the two ecosystems responding very, very differently.
So I still don't get the question in that. I agree with you, Maria ji. See, essentially the expectations, largely because of certain media houses, was set at very high levels. Totally in mismatch with what the military objective that was set out right at the outset of Operation Sindoor. As I have said that at multiple channels, when you are in a military operation, your objectives are pre-decided. Not in the middle of the course, you start changing the fundamental reasons why you are going on an aggressive path. So I believe there was a wrong expectation set largely due to media. That expectation rose this desire among people and a significant chunk of that you should not have done ceasefire. And this is why the communication, that gap that was left behind, perhaps because of this heated moment, and then Trump coming in all of a sudden, and people couldn't grasp what exactly hit them. I think this is the gap that Prime Minister is trying to fill now. He is reaching out to to the people of this country to try and explain them that this was a limited objective operation, not a full-blown territory annexing roadmap that India had gotten into, because that is unpalatable. It doesn't fit into the overall narrative that India wants to portray even globally. So Prime Minister was doing that job, and he will continue to do that for next several months. He will anchor the expectation of people so that people in India start to believe that yes, what we set out for, we were able to win. Now here, the gap or the direction, or the two directions that Congress party had. One was to keep poking, have a negative soundbite all the time, day in and day out. The other objective could have been, they could have picked the leaf from none other than Bilawal Bhutto. See, Bilawal Bhutto also went around the town and he was talking only about Pakistan and Pakistan's cause in several media channels. Couldn't Congress, or couldn't say perhaps Rahul Gandhi, filled in the shoes when Prime Minister and the entire cabinet was busy planning for the war? He could have filled in the shoes and start narrating and setting up a very positive agenda around the world. He, of all people, has access to Ilhan Omar, to all kinds of people on the ultra left to left. Globally speaking, he has access to George Soros, which controls multiple news channels also. Rahul Gandhi could have used his influence and presented a best foot forward. So these were the two clear paths that Congress had. Unfortunately, instead of adding more constructive storyline for India's nationalistic ambitions that was set out through Operation Sindoor, they chose the negative, highly zero-sum strategy that we are only going to attack the government. They paused, and then that itch, that desire to go out and do politics overpowered them. And then you see Pawan Khera and Jairam Ramesh and the likes of them went on with this absolutely churlish kind of behavior on Twitter. That is now being covered by all these same media houses around the world. They are saying that this whole country itself is not united. They are themselves poking holes. Rahul Gandhi is asking how many drones, how many Rafales were downed. I mean, these are the kind of questions, and what kind of doubt it instills into the mind of global media. It will. See, this is where I say Congress are, by genuinely internally looking, they are
Shall I respond to that? No, but Rajat, the problem with that argument is that the opposition stood with the government through and through. And like any opposition, they are expected to ask questions. They are doing that. They have chosen a time, let them ask questions. To say that Rahul Gandhi should have been doing what, and perhaps taking the same line as Bilawal Bhutto is doing in Pakistan may not be the right assessment also.
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Shama Mohammed.
Can I come in?
Yes, let us speak, and I'm coming back to you.
Okay, I just want to say a couple of things. One, you said, it's a terror state. We have exposed it as a terror state, correct? I just heard you say that. Then why did IMF give $2.3 billion to them? Of course, they don't recognize it as a terror state. I mean, America is involved in giving them that loan. The Western countries are. Could we stop it? No, we couldn't, because we do not have friends. Now, you asked about Rahul Gandhi questioning. See, it is our duty as an opposition to question the present government. And he clearly said from day one, my leader, that we are with the government. Now, there is huge security lapse. There was no rapid action force, nobody for nearly 45 minutes there, right? And let's understand one thing. All party meet, Prime Minister not present. We asked him to call a special session of parliament. No. We asked for another all party. It is the duty of the government to brief the opposition. I mean, we did it after 26/11. During the 1962 war, we did it. Everybody, even Vajpayee did it. So nobody is going against that. Now, to reply to Pradeep Bhandari, he kept talking about 26/11. Do you remember what happened after Kargil? Where was the spine of the Bharatiya Janata Party when you had Operation Parakram? For 10 months, our soldiers were at the border. You know how many soldiers we lost? 7,000. Can you answer to that? You will never have an answer. We divided Pakistan into two. Let's not forget it. And let's always remember, after 26/11, the world was with us. I want to ask you, sitting there, the BJP spokesperson, why did the IMF give $2.3 billion? And Rajnath Singh himself said that money is going to be is being used for funding terror camps. You guys know that. Okay, why didn't you stop it? Because let's understand.
Okay.
We hardly have friends now. Jai Shankar is going to the Taliban to get friends. So answer
No.
And it is the duty of the opposition to ask
Pradeep,
Pradeep,
the question is first, which is being asked repeatedly by opposition parties, what about special session? One. And the second, globally, did you communicate the message of the success and the goal of Operation Sindoor effectively?
Well, point number one, Maria, there is a difference between asking questions and asking operational details. The Congress party is interested in asking operational details. Recall the press conference of the DGMO, where the DGMO was asked a similar question. The DGMO said, we will not reveal the operational details. So they are very much interested in knowing the number of aircraft that Indians have lost, rather than knowing the number of aircraft that Pakistan has lost. That is the larger argument. They want to shift the narrative from India's gain to Pakistan's gain. That is where we charge them with the questions purposely helping the Pakistani narrative. Point number one, she spoke about Kargil. Well, the Congress party for 5 years did not celebrate the Kargil victory from 2004 to 9. They said it's the Bharatiya Janata Party's war. They were speaking about nationalism of the Congress party from 26/11. It was Sonia Gandhi led Congress party. Not even one terrorist in Pakistan was killed. The entire world is with us. This is why not even one person has condoned what India has said. On your show in NDTV, Maria, you have interviewed innumerable experts, and all of them have said that it is India's victory. If they believe that writing dossiers to Pakistan and getting letter of support from third-party countries is getting the world together, why is she interrupting in between me? No, Maria, I did not interrupt between her. She's acting like a troll, exactly like a troll. Please. This is NDTV. It's not your party office, Shama. Relax. You can do that in front of Supriya Shine. Again, अरे दे रहा हूँ, घबरा क्यों रहे हो आप सुप्रिया जी से मत कम्पीट करो, सुन लो मुझे, मैं आपको सुन रहा हूँ। $2.3 billion का लोन के बारे में तो बता दो ना, उससे भी पढ़ो 11 कंडीशन है, के बारे में तो बता दो। अगर इनको, if they believe that writing love letters to Pakistan and getting support from the entire global community that yes, India has written love letters to Pakistan and dossiers to Pakistan is getting global support, then they are mistaken. Please read the statement of entire world. Tell me one state, one nation apart from Pakistan and China, which apart from China and Turkey, which have stood with Pakistan. They have not stood with Pakistan. So we have gone deep inside Pakistan. We have hit Pakistan and the entire global community standing with us in an escalatory scenario. They will not go ahead and pursue.
The entire OIC wrote in favor of Pakistan. All that unison or all that has not happened this time around. So certainly when it comes to diplomatic success, government of India did manage to isolate Pakistan. Isn't it correct, Shama?
Let me tell you, government of India is... No, I have asked a very simple question. Why, if the government of India has isolated Pakistan...
Shama, the entire Middle East is standing with us. Shama, the entire Middle East is with us.
$2.3 billion
the National Security
given by
Advisor of
IMF.
United States of America has publicly said that Pakistan is a terror state. There are 11 conditions to that. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Is it to me or to him?
Okay. Pradeep, let her answer. Now I don't have much time. Let's try and wrap it up.
She asked me.
Yes, okay. Shama, quickly, 30 seconds, and then I'll give the last word to Neerja Chaudhary. Please go ahead.
Are you asking me?
Yes, ma'am. First, Shama. 30 seconds to her, then I'll come to you.
Yeah, Maria, my thing is, you are saying, we have the help, we have this. Let me ask you, the Western countries run IMF. Why did you give 2.3 at this point of time when you know it's going to go into these terror camps? Why didn't the Western countries say, no, at this point of time, we are not going to give them?
What followed after that in that meeting in IMF?
What has happened after?
Should I remind you? Can I ask Rajat Singh to remind the Congress
$2.3 billion could have been stopped. And the other thing is, when are we going to put them in the grey list of the financial action task force? We put them in the grey list of financial action task force.
Okay, last word to Neerja Chaudhary on the show tonight. Neerja Chaudhary.
I think, yes, we could have done much better diplomatically. There are many lessons. While there were many achievements, there are many lessons to be learned also through this last 1 month. And I'm sure that the reason why the 7 delegations are going to world capitals is that it is to mobilize further support. Of course, Pakistan had China's stand, and China saying we will guarantee Pakistan's sovereignty. Those are very strong words China used. Azerbaijan, Turkey, some other countries. And so India, US, yes, claimed their credit for brokering the ceasefire, but will the United States of America stand by India? A lot of Indians asked that question, if there was to be a full-scale war. So which are the countries that are going to stand by us? Russia was silent. Russia was not as forthcoming as it has been in the past. So those are things to be rectified, efforts stepped up, as happens, after operations like this in the past also. And I think government is in the process of doing that. And let's see what happens in the coming days and months.
All right, Shama Muhammad, Rajat Sethi, Neerja Chaudhary and Pradeep Bhandari, really appreciate your time on the last word. In fact, the dominance of Sindoor was seen at Cannes as well. Aishwarya Rai donned Sindoor when she walked the red carpet. I'm leaving you with these visuals of prominent actors, all of them wearing Sindoor or the vermilion on Cannes red carpet.
Good evening, welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the programme this evening, India marks 1 month since the horrific Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 lives, with India's resolute response reshaping the fight against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Operation Sindoor's precision strikes on 9 terrorist camps in Pakistan using BrahMos and other missiles have crippled the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed's networks. India's diplomatic blitz, briefing 100 missions and securing UN condemnation, seeks to isolate Pakistan globally. Amidst Pakistan's denials and retaliatory border closures, Prime Minister Modi's strike-them-at-home doctrine stands firm. As a fragile ceasefire holds, has India's bold strategy redefined our war on terror? Next up on the show, in a historic turning point for India's internal security, the relentless fight against Naxalism is yielding unprecedented results, bringing the decades-long insurgency to the brink of extinction. Recent operations in Chhattisgarh, including the massive 21-day campaign at Karegutta Hill, have dealt a crippling blow to Maoist strongholds, with security forces eliminating 31 Naxals, destroying 214 hideouts and seizing critical supplies. Home Minister Amit Shah has hailed this as a landmark victory, declaring that the tricolour now flies proudly where red terror once reigned. Is Naxal terror now finally coming to an end? That's our second debate tonight on Left, Right and Centre. And finally, India celebrates as Banu Mushtaq, the first Kannada author to win the International Booker Prize for Heart Lamp, that's a book, joins us tonight. Her poignant stories of Muslim women's resilience have captivated the world. We'll explore her journey and the power of regional literature. Stay tuned for an exclusive interview with my colleague Gauri Dwivedi that's later on the program. First, a quick look at the headlines. Government sources say that the India-US trade deal is expected before the 8th of July. A security breach is reported at the actor Salman Khan's house in Bandra. A woman has been arrested. one person, just that woman, arrested for trespass. India condemns the killing of Israeli staff in the United States. The perpetrators must be brought to justice. Israel points fingers at Europe. 2 Israeli embassy staff were killed in America.
Are the modern blood libels.
Well, India marks 1 month since the horrific Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 lives, with India's resolute response perhaps reshaping the fight against Pakistan-based terror. There have been several important reactions which have come in today, none less than what has taken place with regard to what the Prime Minister had to say earlier on today. Let's listen in on what he did.
का दिमाग ठंडा है, ठंडा रहता है, लेकिन मोदी का लहू गर्म होता है। मोदी की नसों में लहू नहीं, गरम सिंदूर बह रहा है। पाकिस्तान को भारी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी और ये कीमत पाकिस्तान की सेना चुकाएगी, पाकिस्तान की अर्थव्यवस्था चुकाएगी। तीनों सेनाओं ने मिलकर ऐसा चक्रव्यूह रचा कि पाकिस्तान को घुटने टेकने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। 22 तारीख के हमले के जवाब में हमने 22 मिनट में आतंकियों के 9 सबसे बड़े ठिकाने तबाह कर दिए। दुनिया ने और देश के दुश्मनों ने भी देख लिया कि जब सिंदूर बारूद बन जाता है तो नतीजा क्या होता है।
All right, so it's been a month since the Pahalgam terror attack. Where does India stand at this stage? I'm joined by Ambassador Navdeep Suri, Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, General Satish Dua, and General S.L. Narasimhan. Thank you very much for being with us. Ambassador Suri, let me come to you first. A month after Pahalgam, has Pakistan's denial of involvement, despite India's evidence linking the attack to the Jaish and the Lashkar-e-Toiba, impacted India's diplomatic push to designate Pakistan a state sponsor of terrorism at the UN?
I don't think it's impacted our narrative to that extent, but I think it certainly helps if we can produce tangible evidence, not just Pakistan's track record, which needs no certification by anyone. You know, the Pakistani track record is abundantly clear. But if we have the proverbial smoking gun, then that certainly helps. We know it. But, some countries tend to be a little bit more skeptical than others. And I think what is crucial is for us to work very closely with friendly intelligence agencies in the US, in Europe, elsewhere, and make sure that we are on the same page. We have established channels of communication with them. We have established cooperation mechanisms with them. And they've been very helpful to us in the past in sometimes supplementing our own efforts to track down the culprits with the information, tech int, etc., that they may have picked up. I'm sure it's happening behind the scenes. This is not the kind of stuff that we usually speak about in the public domain. But yes, we can certainly perhaps do a bit more to strengthen our global narrative.
General Narasimhan, what happens if there's a fresh terror attack in the country? I know what the Prime Minister has said. I'm aware of the new doctrine. But, military action isn't necessarily switch on, switch off. Therefore, if something happens now, can we always resort to a military route?
Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you for getting me on your show. Earlier in one of the shows of yours only, I mentioned that we need to keep the pressure on Pakistan on a continuous basis. See, periodically, as and when things come to close to normalcy, you see this reversal that is taking place every time. 2016, 19, 25 are actually the pointers towards that. I think we need to be constantly putting the pressure on Pakistan, not only on the military front, but also on the diplomatic and the economic front, so that they remain under pressure. Even today, I was in a seminar with the Stimson Center here in the US. The Pakistanis seem to be in denial even now. So the problem that comes up is that we need to put pressure on, like Ambassador Navdeep Suri mentioned, from all angles towards Pakistan to ensure that they don't come up with another act that happened like what happened in 22nd of April. So this is the thing I think that we need to be concentrating on all fronts.
If we look at, India's strikes, Pakistan's attempts at hitting us, the extensive use of drones, how has military conflict in the subcontinent been changed forever?
It is true, because the use of drones, the use of standoff modes of attack has actually started from the Armenian-Azerbaijan.
General Narasimhan, half a second. I just wanted to put that across to General Dua. General Dua, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Right. Vishnu, I will continue from where General Narasimhan left off, because this time, as we've been seeing over the last few years, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Armenia, or Israel-Gaza conflict, we've seen a shift, tectonic shift, if you will, in the platforms and the weapons used. So standoff modes of attack, to include drones, missiles, rockets, and UAVs, etc., those are not only more the norm, but also are more cost-effective. Ukraine crippled a Russian Navy ship without having a viable navy at all, using drones. So this time round, what we have seen is that on one hand, we have used these platforms very well. On the other hand, our integrated army defense has worked so beautifully. I myself was a skeptic of the integrated air defense between the Navy and Air Force till we have till the Air Force, between the three services, till we have integrated structures, and especially the fact that we have a lot of Make in India equipment which has been sort of integrated into it. I'm actually very happy to be proven wrong, that our air defense grid has been very good. It has actually integrated a variety of equipment and platforms, as well as legacy systems like L-70s and some other systems which we have been using for decades. So to my mind, this has actually changed the paradigm, the new normal, in terms of how our response will be without crossing the LOC and with the least involvement of loss of lives.
Marshal Kapoor, in 2016 and in 2019, there was no footage which actually came of India's strikes, very little. And whatever did emerge didn't necessarily sort of favor our narrative. On this occasion, there is an overwhelming amount of satellite imagery, an overwhelming amount of footage, some of which we are seeing on the screen. Therefore, in not just military action, but there is this battle of narratives as well, which is a part and parcel of modern warfare, perhaps more than ever before. Do you believe that that battle of narrative has been won by New Delhi?
Not exactly. In my opinion, the West has favored Pakistan. And why would they do so? Because the equipment used by them is of Western origin. Nowhere would they want that the world should know that their equipment was taken down by the Russian and the Indian equipments. The markets will collapse. It is the first time that the Chinese weapons have ever been used in any conflict. So the whole world would be watching their PL-15's performance, PL-10, JF-17, J-10, and whatever you have. Because these platforms would be used against Taiwan or their targets in South China Sea as and when, if a conflict takes place. So, in my opinion, the area which we need to improve, we are discussing 1 month after Pahalgam, is our narrative building. The West whatsoever may say, has always stood by the side of Pakistan, be it providing them with weapons, be it providing them with tacit support, be it standing with them on international forums, World Bank, IMF, you name a thing. Most of the newspapers and the publication houses have never ever brought out the real facts which you are just showing. The damages done, the craters made. They have mentioned in the passing some damage was done. And today morning I was reading a report which has been taken precisely from the authentic sites, which has put the air loss, only the air loss, to about $3.6 billion. This strike on the 10th morning has taken out about $3.6 billion worth of equipment from them. It's some estimate. So this will never come out in Western narrative. I think so. I've answered what you're asking.
Okay. Ambassador Suri, the other aspect of what emerged, again, it's part of the entire narrative process, is the US President Donald Trump claiming that the US had a decisive role in bringing about peace between India and Pakistan, when in fact everything suggests that it was the weight of the Indian strikes which resulted in Pakistan coming on the table. For example, when we first hit Pakistan, the terror camps, our Director General of Military Operations, our DGMO, spoke to them and said, look, we've done what we've done, you know why we've done it, and we don't want to escalate. And he was rebuffed. But that same DGMO, a couple of days later, himself got on the phone and said, look, let's get into a ceasefire, and let's do that ceasefire in 2 hours from now. I would suggest that had to do greatly with the success of India's military operations. And yet you've got Trump over and over again saying that, some trade business would facilitate this peace and that America was decisively involved. Again, in terms of narrative, I'm not sure where that fits in. I'm not even sure whether that's factually correct. What are your views?
Vishnu, before I come to President Trump, I just wanted to endorse what General Dua had said about our air defense capabilities in bringing down the drones, because living in Amritsar and seeing firsthand from our balcony the swarms that were coming in and the L-70s and other systems taking them down, we felt pretty safe at all points. And, on a lighter note, there was this joke going around that so many Pakistani drones have fallen in the farmlands around Amritsar that the kabadi walas are going around saying, drone hai aapke paas. That there's the extent of effectiveness of our campaign. But coming on the specific issue of President Trump, I think, look, he has a very tenuous relationship with facts and with truth, and we are seeing that time and again. Most analysts will perhaps, most psychologists will diagnose him as a narcissist who really has his own worldview of things. It's a dilemma for us dealing with President Trump, and we are not the only ones. The Canadians have the dilemma, the Europeans have the dilemma, and I think until 10 days back, we were perhaps a little bit smug that we had figured out how to deal with President Trump, until we got trumped by his methods. I don't know if you saw what happened with the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday at the Oval Office, where he got what is now being a new verb, he got Zelensky'd by Trump. And it's a new reality that the world is dealing with about how do you deal with a president who's so mercurial, who's so given to making up his own version of the reality. And the stakes are high. You were earlier in your program talking about the big trade deal coming up. Now, that trade deal is important for us. So in terms of our negotiating on this, do we try to get Trump on the mat saying, look, you were not right, you were economical with the truth, we do not believe in the hyphenation of India-Pakistan that you're trying to restore. This goes against all of the strategic gains that we have made in the last 20 years, right, administration after administration in our relations with America? Or do we really play a cool and calm diplomatic hand and say, we know what we are dealing with, we have to manage with him, let's work with the senior officials, let's work with those who understand that this is a critical relationship, not just for India, but also for the United States. How do you Trump-proof it, I guess, is the question that many of us are challenged with today.
General Narasimhan, Field Marshal Asim Munir. We have to call him a Field Marshal now because he has decided to make himself one. Do you see his self-appointment as Field Marshal, something that subverts whatever existed of a democratic, of a political structure in Pakistan? Do you see him as a wild card going forward?
Two, three things on this particular issue. I think he is the first person who probably got himself promoted for a failure. Right. I mean, I don't think any field marshal got himself promoted for failure before this. This is the first point. The second point is, since he has been made a field marshal, there are two, three issues that come up. One, field marshals are actually meant for life. So is he going to extend his tenure beyond what has been approved so far? That is one issue that you need to look at. Second issue is, having firmed his position as field marshal, what will be his reaction to what kind of things that have happened in Pelgam and after that, of Sindoor and after that? So these are the two, three issues I think that we need to be looking at. My own understanding is that he is here to stay for some more time, maybe beyond the tenure that has been approved for him. Maybe we need to be prepared for certain other misadventures by Pakistan. And three, the point which came first, that is the narrative building. I think we need to be strong on our narrative building to ensure that the success story which they are trying to propagate is properly negated so that he is put under pressure at some point in time in future. I think these are the issues that we need to look at Field Marshal Asim Munir, as you call him.
General Dua, despite our strikes, which obviously sent a very hard message to them, terrorism isn't necessarily going to evaporate out of Pakistan. Terrorists move away. They aren't sort of fixed to one particular camp or training center. Isn't that the larger reality that India needs to face? That, in the subcontinent, there is a nuclear sort of umbrella which resides. It resides in Pakistan, it resides in India. No one is going to push a conflict beyond a certain point, and therefore terrorists can return at any stage. And there's only so much that India can realistically do. I mean, we've got all sorts of people saying, let's just go after Pakistan, finish them off once and for all. But, a full war would devastate their economy, forget them, our economy. It would result in tens of thousands of people losing their lives. And under that nuclear threat, anything can happen, particularly with a strange leader over there, a wild card. Therefore, where does that leave us? And I ask this question 1 month after Pahalgam.
So, Vishnu, you're right. We live in a nuclear overhang as far as India and Pakistan are concerned. And terrorism, I don't think it is just going to wither and wane tomorrow. I don't think that Pakistan is going to stop supporting terrorism. I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll rebuild their camps, their structures. But the point that has been made by India over the last 1 month, especially after the first fortnight, is that we have now raised the ante. In 2016, we made shallow surgical strikes across land, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers. Thereafter, after Pulwama, Balakot was deep inside the Pakistan territory, a single strike, but on terrorist camps. Now, this time round, we have upped the ante by using all available platforms and means, and we have struck at the terror infrastructure hubs and headquarters across the country, including Punjab, including some installations very close to military installations.
Yeah.
Thereafter, we've struck all these places, the military establishments, in response to Pakistani strikes. So, to your question as to where does it leave us, I think we are just discussing the military part. As we go further, the Indus Water Treaty is going to hurt them most. We really don't realize the importance of it as of now. I'm sure it is sending shivers in Pakistan because 80% of Punjab in Pakistan is all dependent on these waters. I know we don't have capacities right now to turn the tap off, but the kind of unpredictability that we've started to generate over the few days, I mean, there are so many things that can be done and are being done. Also, economic costs, diplomatic costs, the teams that we've sent across, we have to do narrative building better, as has come out loud and clear. But last sentence I would like to say, we have also found a space below the nuclear threshold where we can hit them very hard. We can hit them where it hurts them. You see, it is going to hurt Pakistan more than Pakistan is going to be able to hurt us. Yes, terrorism is something which will remain a wild card, but we have to manage to keep it under a certain threshold.
Sure. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Lots to ponder on 1 month after that horrific terror attack. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to move on. In a historic turning point for India's internal security, the relentless fight against Naxalism is yielding unprecedented results, bringing the decades-long insurgency to the brink of extinction. Believe it or not, that might actually be the truth at this stage. Joining us to look at this, we've got a great panel. We'll come to them in a moment, but first let's listen in to what the Home Minister had said and what top cops are also saying.
भी पिछले कुछ वर्षों में हमने बस्तर के लगभग सभी इलाकों में सुरक्षा वैक्यूम को फिलअप करके और जॉइंट एक्शन प्लान जो भारत सरकार द्वारा हमको दिया गया उसी दिशा के अनुरूप काम करते हुए लगभग सुरक्षा विहीन क्षेत्रों को हमने ऑक्युपाई कर लिया है। बहुत थोड़ा क्षेत्र बचा है जिसको कि हम पूरी तरह से ऑक्युपाई करके और नक्सलवाद को माओवाद को इस धरती से निर्मूल करने में प्रयासरत है। और इसको जो हमारी समय सीमा दी गई है माननीय केंद्रीय गृह मंत्री द्वारा 31 मार्च 2026 तक, हम उसके पहले ही माओवाद का अंत करने में पूरी तरह कामयाब होंगे। ऐसी हम सबका ऐसे संकल्प है और ऐसी हम सबकी आशा भी है।
मैं सबसे पहले एक बात इस सदन में जिम्मेदारी के साथ बताना चाहता हूं, 31 मार्च 2026 को इस देश से नक्सलवाद समाप्त।
And it does appear that what Amit Shah, the Home Minister, said is going to be achieved perhaps even before that deadline that he'd set up. Joining us now, three excellent officers who have fought Naxal terror and done incredibly well for a long period of time. Ram Nivas, former Director General of Police in Chhattisgarh, MP Nathaniel, Inspector General of Police in the CRPF, and PK Mishra, the Additional Director General of the BSF, retired. Thank you all very much for being with us.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Mr. Ram Nivas, let me come to you first. In your opinion, what strategies have really worked, to bring about this reported 70% reduction in Naxal activities in Chhattisgarh since, let's say, about December 2023? And I ask this because all of you have fought against Naxalism at some stage. Why is it that the success has come now? What has been done differently in, let us say, the last 3 to 4 years?
In Bastar, basically, there were 5 areas which were, we can say, there was vacuum of the administration. So the government of India and the state of Chhattisgarh, slowly and slowly, they occupied that area and covered that. We can have the carpeting security in that area. And after that, there is a proper coordination among all the forces, the CAPF, the Cobra battalions, and then the district reserve force, and basically the local Bastar boys, because in DRG we have recruited Bastar boys and Bastar girls also, and they know each and every area just like the palm of the hand. So the coordinated efforts and then the will of the government of India and the will of the state government, because the same forces were there. But after the Honorable Home Minister, he decided the things, and then the operations were carried out in those areas. So technical operations with technical intelligence and ground level intelligence, they have worked very well, and the coordinated efforts. The main hindrance in that, or the main problem, was that the IDs. So the local police and the CAPF, they have found the solution how to avoid these IDs and how to get the intelligence from the local police. So regarding IDs, so that is why so the forces got the successes in that area.
Mr. Nathaniel, now that it does appear that Naxalism, and it's almost unbelievable that I'm saying this, but it does appear that Naxalism in Chhattisgarh might be extinct. Assuming that that does happen, how important is it to flood that area with development, flood that with education, flood it with jobs, bring disenchanted young people, young Indians who have lived under the shadow of terror themselves into a new world? Because that's the only way that things can fundamentally change in the minds of people. So how important is that?
Good evening to all your viewers. And before I start off, I would pay homage to the lone DRG Jawan who lost his life in the operation yesterday. Well, as far as development is concerned, it started quite a few months back. The initial way of developing the area was by constructing roads, which was being hindered by the Maoists for a long time, because they do not want development to reach the villages. As the connectivity, as it gets better, then the Maoists will be in trouble, mainly because the security forces will be able to reach there pretty fast within less time, and moreover, development will also help the people in improving their way of life, their living style, and that would not be helpful to the Maoists. So their sole aim was not to allow the roads to be constructed at any cost. But then the assistance of Border Road Organization, that is under Ministry of Defense, the assistance of BRO was taken, and they did some good work over there. After that, the local contractors were asked to do the work, and they were provided all the security by the CRPF. And because of that, a long stretch of road has been constructed all over the area, because of which the schools have now started opening, the health centers have started operating there. The education now is available to the children through the mobile and laptops also, because of the mobile stations that have been set up over there, mobile towers. Because of these developments, the Maoists are quite disturbed also. Because when development comes, the people will start ignoring. The main factor for all this was the establishing of about 200 forward operating bases in these areas. By establishing these forward operating bases, the Maoists were not given the access to the local villagers over there.
Right.
And the villagers also, because of their contact with the security forces, they stopped giving any information to the Maoists, and they sought more help from the security forces. Like you see, Hitma and his lieutenant by name Deva.
Sure.
These two were from Poverty village. And since CRPF camp came nearby, they had to flee from that area. And of late they were supposed to be in the Karagutal hills, but somehow they managed to escape from there. So this way the development has already begun, and the people are enjoying the facility of the development that has come in. Moreover, this has also helped in more Maoists coming forward to surrender.
Yeah.
Because then if they surrender, they have a much better life ahead by way of getting houses for their stay, and they would also be taken in the Bastare battalion or local DRG battalion, or even given skill training to be gainfully employed somewhere.
Mr. Mishra,
so we started, and it is encouraging the other Maoists also.
Sure, just 1 second, sir, if I can just go across to Mr. Mishra as well, who's been waiting. Mr. Mishra, I think as we talk about this incredible success, the stage where we are in the fight, hopefully against Naxalism, bringing it to an end once and for all, could you reflect for us the incredible losses and sacrifices that any number of state police forces or paramilitary forces have had to go through for decades on end, because that's a sacrifice which we just should never forget about?
Yes. In fact, I'm very happy that the person who was involved in 2010 Dantewada incident, where my boys, 76 boys, they lost their lives. I go back to 2010 and I have visited Dantewada just after a week. And credit goes to this DRG Jawans of 4 districts who could kill that man. That is your Prakash, your Nambala Kesav Rao, your BR Gaganna. That is what Basav Raju is, the B-Tech from Srikakulam. And in fact, it's not only that. Along with him, 26 Naxalites who were covering him. They could not escape, all of them could be killed. Now, the CRPF was also telling, we have to go back to this Black Forest, and Ops KGH, Karaigula Hills. If we go to Karaigula Hills and you see the operation which continued by DRG and STF and CRPF in Telangana, Chhattisgarh border, look at the area. It was 60 kilometers in length and 5 to 20 kilometers in breadth, having 120 or 125 bunkers, having a Naxalite hospital with four ID training institutions in that, and lathe machine to prepare RGLs and other ammunitions there, and a provided explosive device training was imparted by Basparaj, and he was training this Naxalite. It was such a tremendous operation because of this DRG and STF and Cobra unit and CRPF. They carried out at Karaigula Hills. Thanks, it continued for 24 days. But of course, we know Hidma has escaped and he might have gone towards Telangana because perhaps they were in small group. They escaped and 31 of them were killed. But I can well tell you the development which takes place. I had been to Darba Ghati incident just where Mr. V.C. Suklo was killed along with a lot of Congress leaders. That time what Kankir was, what Tulsi Dogri was, what Narayanpur was, what Bijapur was, that is totally different now. The development has taken place, and that is how the Naxalites, they are in a dilemma. Because the tribals, government has looked after the tribals. And look at the Bastar battalions, the Bastar battalions, the STFs and the SDGs and all these Cobra battalions which have come up. They have taken these young boys and girls from Bastar because they are the son of the soil and daughter of the soil. They know the terrain. They know how to operate. They can penetrate to interior areas, and they know the tactics in and out of Naxalites. And when this development took place, as IGCRP was mentioning and earlier our ex-DG was also telling, when the education came up, when the girls, they could join, they could come to the main line, when people, they got communication, road communication, the wireless communication, the mobile towers and educational facilities, they definitely like to be informers, to give information to security forces than to go for the Naxalites. That is how from 200 districts it has come down to 6 to 9. It is oscillating between 6 to 9. And what Mr. Amit Sahaji has told, that yes, not by 31st March, but I am very sure at least in Chhattisgarh, Naxalite Mukt Chhattisgarh will be there by 31st December 2025. I am very sure. Because main thing is MAC, the intelligence coverage and the sharing of intelligence by different institutions like CRPF, paramilitary forces, DRG, STF, Cobra unit, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, West Bengal, that has come up very nicely. Just see this last Karaigula incident. The Telangana police was ready. The Odisha police was ready. So in that way, development of communication, development of technology in forces, development of bulletproof jackets, development of the weapons, development of using helicopters for evacuation of our casualties, taking the help of heli-bound operations, and also the areas which were not covered when we were going for operation in Abusmar, Dandakaryan and Bastar. We used to go operate and come back. And a lot of ROPs were being laid, and that is how when ROP used to come back,
road opening parties,
they used to be. But now we have entered to their areas and opened a number of forward operating bases inside the Dandakaryan, inside Abusmara, inside Saranda, for which they are in turmoil, and they don't find a place to train, they don't find a place to bring tribals to join them. That's a drawback now they are facing.
Well, I think it's pretty much over for them, and we've beaten the deadline which the Home Minister had announced, 2026. I think it was the month of March. Let's hope the red terror ends in this country and that there is genuine development. And thank you, gentlemen, for you and for all the men and women that you've commanded and who've paid so much, not just them but their families. To get into a situation now where we are actually having a discussion. It's almost unreal that we should be having a serious discussion on Naxal terror having likely ended. We leave it over there. We're going to take a short break. Up after that, India celebrates as Banu Mushtaq, the first Kannada author to win the International Booker Prize for her book Heart Lamp, joins us. Her poignant stories of Muslim women's resilience have captivated the world. She speaks in this exclusive interview up after the break to my colleague Gauri Dwivedi.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard
gunned down by Pakistan-backed cowards.
When you interact with people on ground, you're able to reflect their sentiments much better.
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time. It's a prime time that's unmissable.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shiv Aroor. Only on NDTV 24/7.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
In the last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Jinzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling? Speaking to NDTV.
Welcome. Thank you.
Your writings have opened, your thought-provoking writings have opened up to the entire English-speaking audience through the translation by Deepa, and it really provided the kind of purpose that many Indian women were looking in terms of voicing their thoughts. And let me start by asking you, Bhanuji, how your writings are almost like a life's journey, chronicling experiences across 3 decades. How do you feel when it struck a chord with a global audience?
Yeah, I'm extremely happy. It's an incredible journey I have gone through, because all this started during 2022, when one of my story was translated by Deepa Bharti and submitted to a contest. It was once again the same process, long-listed, short-listed, and it won the contest. The part of the package was one complete book of that author would be published in English. So afterwards, we could not stop the process. It went on and it has landed in the Booker Prize Award.
Indeed. Your writings, many feel, are actually a reflection of your personal experiences, isn't it? Of many women in Muslim societies, in patriarchal societies in India. What do you think the global English-speaking audience found most compelling in these experiences, in these stories?
Yeah, global English audience, they were highly impressed by this characterization, the fiction and the way of storytelling. They are impressed even by the style. They say it starts in an innocent way and gives an abrupt shock during the course of the story. And they are impressed by so many things that they discussed in my previous introductions with the press and the Booker Committee, jury's speech, everything. I have come to the conclusion that it is a new thing that they are going through, because the entire stories which are in Heartland, they are socially committed pieces of their lives. They are individual experiences which have been documented by me, but it is not a real. It is not only the real stories. They are not only the real experiences, but also it has grown in mind in a fiction, and it has come to this form which has been accepted by the global audience, and they are very happy. They are analyzing it, and they say this is not only it doesn't pertain only to Muslim women and only to South India. It has got universal quality. It can be applied to anywhere, wherever women are there. These types of issues, these types of turmoil, these types of emotional explosions, it can be traced universally in all the parts of the world. That is their, opinion.
Indeed, human emotion has a universal appeal, and you were appealing to women across the world, isn't it? Some of the conflicts that they have, some of the turmoil that goes on in their minds, whether it's about family, social pressures, and of course the desire to follow your heart, isn't it?
The subjugation of women. Yes. All these things, it has got universal characterization.
I'm intrigued to ask you why was it that you chose Kannada as your language of expression? You're fluent in several languages, but you chose Kannada to express yourself. Why was that?
The thing is, I am a Muslim. I have come from a traditional Muslim family, and our mother tongue is Dakhni Urdu. It is not as sophisticated as the North Indian Urdu, but it is a Dakhni Urdu wherein various colloquial influences are there. Even Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and all local languages are mixed with this Dakhni Urdu, and it has got a quite different slang. And all my women folk, they studied Urdu earlier to me, but when I was admitted to school, I never studied Urdu properly. That's why my father got me admitted to the Kannada medium school. But afterwards, my parents, my grandfather, all they strived very hard to teach me Urdu and Arabic, and I have learned it. And I have translated from Urdu many books to Kannada. As Kannada is my medium of instruction, I feel it very fluent, and artistically I can convey and I can express in Kannada only, not in Urdu, not in English, not in any other language except Kannada. I cannot express myself effectively, fluently, artistically. Only in Kannada I can do it. That's why I write in Kannada.
It's the language where you build bridges the most, isn't it? So,
yes.
You mentioned about translation. I want to ask you, the translation is actually probably one of the most challenging parts, right? Because you want to keep the essence of your writing, but also ensure that it opens up to a global readership, global audience. How challenging was it, and what were the kind of discussions that you had with Deepa when Heartland was being translated from Kannada to English?
So during the translation, I took the decision that I should not meddle with her choice of stories, because all my stories are, there are about 6 collections published so far from 1990 to 2023, and among them there are about 60 plus stories. And I sent the entire volume to Deepa and asked her to select the stories whichever she likes, and she made a list of the stories and sent it to me. And I am comfortable and I am impressed by these stories, she told me, and I want to translate this. That's it. I said, go ahead. I asked her whether she can make a, choice of mine also, whether she can include it in these parts. 1 or 2 stories that I have suggested that also have been included in it. But I would like to say it is mostly the Deepa's choice prevails there. And she did it, though she is Kannada of Deepa's area and my area. It varies a lot, even in accent and in the
local dialects must be different. Local dialects must be different from Shivamogga and from Kodagu, where she is. Yeah.
Yes. Even then, and she's also well versed with Urdu words and English. Though she's known in she has known English, but she also tried her level best to know that I have used a lot of Urdu words, because some of these stories are from the Muslim background. So I easily use namaz, asar, isha, janaza, masjid, all these things, they come as a natural and organic way in my stories. And Deepa, she mentioned them as it is. She retained that original essence in the translation also. And thereby, that is why even the English-speaking people also liked that translation, because that essence and taste of Kannada and regionality and local taste has been retained in the translation. That is also one of the reasons.
Indeed. It's actually a very challenging part to be true to the author and also true to the story as well as the audience. So it's a challenging task, which brings me then to also ask you about one thing, that how do you see your award, this recognition, acting as a catalyst in terms of promoting more regional literature from India? There are lots of other regional authors, their stories waiting for to be discovered. Do you think your award, your recognition will act as a catalyst for promoting some of them?
Yes, of course. It influences. I do agree with you, because Indian literature and Indian local literature is having high potential. And this potentiality is not exposed to the entire world, because it is only sectarian. It has limited to its geographical limitations. It has been adapted. But of course, my stories were previously translated to Malayalam, Tamil, Hindi, Punjabi. These local, that is Indian languages. But when even English translation was also there, but in one bulk there was no translation of mine. So what happens is our local knowledge, local culture, local tradition, and local literature, it has it has to break the boundaries and move forward. These boundaries, not only for man but for literature, this boundary is not a good thing. It has to be shattered, it has to be broken, and it has to be translated into various other international languages, that too to English language, because from English it will be translated to all other world languages. That's why. And the major thing is, in India we are consciously ignoring the translation of our works to English. It has to be speeded up. It has to be taken up by the government, by the NGOs, by the Sahitya Academy, Sahitya Pradhikara, etc. These organizations should take initiative in this connection.
I think it's stories like yours that act as that inflection point, catalyst for regional literature to be embraced in a larger way. And you write about the fact that English audiences should be exposed to some of the stories which are universal in nature but get trapped because of a certain language barrier, which brings me to ask you a question that many want to sort of come by, which is that literature has this universal appeal. It has a power to unite people, unify people across the board. What would you like to say in terms of several language controversies that we are seeing around in India itself, given the fact that language actually has the ability to unite rather than divide?
Yeah, there are, I say in India, there are about more than 700 languages. And most of these languages are Indian originated. See, language, it will be pleased, it will be accepted, it will be spoken, it will be appreciated by all the people. Now, in the entire India, people love to be multilingual. It's not a sin to be multilingual. But when language becomes politics, the politics of language, all these things are happening due to the politics of language. This politicalization of the language, and wherein there are certain apprehensions from one quarter of people that language is used to dominate and subjugate the entire population. That apprehension is giving a lot of controversies, has opened up some controversies, and this shady imposition of the language, it should be stopped. It's my opinion. Because everybody welcomes a language, and everybody wants to speak in a language of their convenience, and there is no hatred against any language. But the politicalization of the language, that is where the problem starts.
Absolutely.
Consciously, it should be avoided.
I now come to the... my last question is exactly what we started this conversation with, which is about women's stories, women's experiences. What is your message to all the millions of women who've read your stories, who are watching this right now, your message to all those women struggling with several of those life experiences that you've chronicled, that you've documented in your stories?
Yes, I say to all my sisters, though in the course of time we are accused that we are talkative, we are backbiting, we pull each other's legs, and we are incompetent. All these names are named against us. I say, be conscious about things. These things are kind only, it's a political act. These things are kind only to, subjugate, as a weapon to subjugate it. I say we are not that bad, we are good, and I want all my sisters to get hand-holding and to propagate sisterhood that will give very positive results, and we can celebrate that also. But diversity is there, I do agree. Let us celebrate our diversity also.
All right, we leave it there. Banu Mushtaq, thank you so much for speaking to me after that historic recognition of your work, of your writings, and I hope it opens the floodgates to more regional literature from India being recognized across the board. Thank you so much for speaking to NDTV.
Thank you.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
These are the visuals that are coming in. Let's go full frame with it.
For every big news story.
From Jammu.
You can't defend the indefensible Ruchira Kamboj, but that's what Pakistan has been doing for a very, very long time.
We are sifting through a lot of information. Some is right, some is not right. But I think we are
India
right
tunes
in
in to
terms of the information
NDTV.
we put on air.
In fact, on NDTV, like we've been doing for the last few hours, we've been
For
not only
fast,
reporting what's
clear
happening
and
authentically,
credible news.
We've also been, busting a lot of misinformation that's been coming in.
When I was standing on the road, I saw these lights going off in the sky, and I could hear
where credibility
sounds of like
comes
what sound like
first.
blasts happening.
When Pakistan started shelling and first shell landed here, you can see this.
Well, we have reached at ground zero, and this village is
NDTV. First,
from where we have
fast,
seen one incident
factual.
had taken place.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
हर आतंकी हमले की पाकिस्तान को भारी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी।
And thank you for tuning in here to News Night. I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. The story that we put our focus on today is extremely significant because you're looking at terror, ladies and gentlemen, literally tightening its grip when it comes to the free world. Because what happened earlier today is significant. Now, in the heart of Washington, D.C., you have Israelis gunned down in cold blood. Just 30 days after you have tourists who were ambushed in India's Pahalgam. 22nd of April, remember that date. And those two images already up on your screens. So there are two nations, but there is one sinister threat. What is that? Radical extremism with a global footprint. So is this just a coincidence? Strike at countries that dare to stand tall when it comes to the fight against terror. From the valleys of Kashmir to the streets of America's capital, the message is chillingly clear. That terror knows no borders, terror knows no limits, and clearly, terror knows no humanity. So why are Israel and India in the crosshairs tonight? Who's orchestrating this transnational hatred? And more importantly, the question we are asking, who's next? Who could be next? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is not just a warning, but this is a wake-up call. The war on terror isn't over. It has simply changed what we call zip codes. So the focus on News Night tonight, India, Israel and terror, from Pahalgam to Washington, what has changed? And what is it about this fight against terror? Let me quickly say good evening to our panel of guests joining us, and it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Lauren Daganamos, member of the Deborah Forum, lecturer and also researcher in the Department of Political Science and the Security Studies program at the Ballia University, specializing in Indian foreign policy. We also have Jonna Blank, author of The Former Advisor to President Biden. Thank you so much. And Dr. Brahmachalani, a strategic affairs expert. So we have this panel of guests joining us, explaining to us the America story, the Israel and the India perspective. And that is why it is extremely important to ask certain straight questions. And with the permission of our guests, let's put out those questions that will drive the conversation tonight. The first straight question is going to be up on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, and that reads, attack in Washington, is that an eye-opener for US against radical terror outfits? Because for the longest time, the charge on the US is that it gets complicit. How could something like this happen? And no one had a whiff of it. That is a lead to the second question. Has the US been caught literally napping again in its own backyard? We say again because we all remember what happened during 9/11. This brings us to our third straight question on the show tonight that we will be taking to our panel of guests. Is this a lonely battle when it comes to India and Israel? Essentially, yes. And the battle that both countries, whether it is India and Israel, have been fighting valiantly for the last many, many years. The fourth straight question. We've seen the Prime Minister earlier today in Bikaner in Rajasthan, and he's put out that latest straight warning to Pakistan. Does that also mirror Israel's resolve when it comes to the fight against terror? Could there be a larger coalition of sort also between the two countries when it comes to that fight? The fifth and the final straight question now that is up on your screens. Is it time, ladies and gentlemen, for the US that calls itself a quote-unquote superpower to rethink counter-terrorism, about how they approach the issue and stop being self-centric, as the charge is? Let's begin by Dr. Lauren to understand what is his perspective essentially also on when we see this fight against terror. And on our screens, we will keep these two images because we are talking of Pahalgam, we are talking of Israel, and no one has forgotten that when it comes to the fight against terror, Dr. Lauren, we've seen both India and Israel fighting their solo battles.
Yeah, actually, first of all, I want to say I'm so sad because today it's 1 month for the Kashmir terrible attack. Yesterday, the attack in Washington. And it's an example again why India and Israel should do more about counterterrorism. India and Israel are facing the same radical Islam, the same radical attacks in Israel, in India, and outside. And it's very important that these countries, with the United States, I hope, will try to cooperate and do everything they can do to deal with this radicalism.
Okay, I think that's an interesting and a very brief comment, and we'll take the opening brief comments from the other two gentlemen also on the show. And as I do that, I'm also going to be requesting our team to put out some graphics, because this will help you understand that when it comes to the fight against terror, how has the US responded to acts on its own soil, whether it is a 9/11, to how India has done this, and to how, a lot of the terror that emanates from Pakistan has been dealt with, and how Israel has done this. And this is where I want to get Jonna Blank before I get it Dr. Brahmachalani. Now, Mr. Blank, in your opinion, when you look at America, when it comes to fighting perpetrators of 9/11, we've seen how the US has responded. There were no conversations. No one was telling America to ratchet down tensions. Osama bin Laden had to be captured, and it was done. So can America continue to be self-centric? Can Israel and India continue to fight these solo battles? Is this not a wake-up call for the world?
Well, thank you for having me.
Sir.
I think it's important not to get ahead of ourselves. This horrendous act in Washington so far appears to be the act of a single individual. There is no evidence whatsoever of any larger group. It's a horrific act, it's an inexcusable act, and the perpetrator will most likely spend the rest of his life in prison or be executed. We don't have any indication that it goes beyond that one individual at this moment. The larger question of what we should be doing to fight terrorism is not an issue of just India or just Israel or just the United States. It's a plague for all nations. The Pelgam attack, for example, is, as you know far better than anyone, one of the most recent terrorist attack perpetrated against India with a connection across the border.
No, you're right. But then the US said that there should be conversation between India and Pakistan. The problem is that you cannot talk about Pakistan and India in the same breath. How can the US do that?
I agree. I think the US should be much more clear in saying what we all know, which is that for India, groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed have been supported by Pakistan's ISI for decades and continue to be.
Yes, and there are so many more questions that I'm sure Dr. Lauren and Jonna would also want to respond to, but I want to get Brahmachalani. But I just want to leave this thought in our viewers' mind that look at the loan of the IMF, the bailout that happened vis-a-vis Pakistan. A lot of monkey balancing that we see a lot of these quote-unquote superpower nations still wanting to do. But Dr. Chilani, the fact is that India and Israel both have fought this battle and they've done pretty well in this battle. But going ahead, because terror knows no boundaries, like we have seen today, does this not entail that America also needs to revisit its counter-terrorism policy?
And the answer is yes, of course, because the global war on terror has been politicized. The politicization of the global war on terrorism has resulted in selective fight against terror. As a result, we are now facing some harsh realities. The 2 Israeli embassy staffers killed in Washington, and today 1 Indian Army soldier was killed by terrorists in Kashmir. So we have terrorism manifesting itself across the world, but Israel and India are located in very troubled neighborhoods. In fact, each time I've been to Israel, one question that Israelis love to ask is whether India's neighborhood is worse than Israel's or Israel's neighborhood is worse than India's. The fact is that both Israel and India, when they look at their neighborhoods, they see threats from all directions. And these threats tend to come from state and non-state actors, but even state actors tend to use terrorists as instruments of state policy. And that's the reason why recently we had the India-Pakistan military hostilities. In the case of Israel, it's fighting non-state actors like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, but the states in Israel's neighborhood also have promoted politicization and radicalization. They have radicalized societies, they have funded societies, they have funded extremist groups. That's how Israel faces potent threats in its neighborhood. But to answer your larger question, we need to really bring the war on terror back on track. We need to reorient the global war on terror. We need to reorient it so that we focus not just on eliminating individual terrorists. We need to focus actually on the infrastructure of terrorists as well as the ideology that drives terrorism. Because discrediting the ideology that attracts attackers, that leads to terrorism, is very important. It's of course, it involves a long-term battle, but the focus also needs to be on discrediting the ideology of radical Islam, because that is what's promoting terrorism in many countries.
I think that's a good point. Mr. Bland, do you want to take this ahead? Because the point is, it is an open secret that when it comes to America's war against terror, it is self-centric. It is only and only about the American interests. It's clearly not about the world. It is not about India. It is not about Israel.
Yes, well, I think the United States has a long history of being self-centered, of thinking the problems of the United States are the most important problems in the world, and asking all other countries to care about our problems while we all too often don't really care about other people's problems. And I think that that's more true today than it ever has been the case. So on